Life is fraught with suffering. This suffering stems from our mortality and fragility, as well as the malevolence that we face, both from ourselves and others. This existential problem can lead to bitterness, hopelessness, nihilism, depression, anxiety, and even substance abuse as a form of medication or escape. These adverse effects can manifest themselves in various ways, further complicating our lives. However, there is a way out of this labyrinth of suffering, and that is through taking responsibility for our own lives and striving to make the world a better place. It is necessary to confront the suffering in our lives head on and adopt responsibility as our guiding principle. Life is hard for everyone to some degree, and we all face challenges and difficulties. Some people undoubtedly have it harder than others, and we all experience trying times at different points in our lives. The question then becomes, what can we do in the face of such adversity? The answer lies in taking responsibility for our circumstances and struggling uphill to overcome them. By finding something in our lives that is so worthwhile and meaningful that it justifies the suffering we endure, we can begin to make sense of our existence. Life is undeniably rough, and when good fortune or happiness comes our way, we should be grateful for it. But what is the best antidote to life's discomfort? Comfort may seem like the obvious answer, but a more effective remedy is found in the pursuit of excellence and the spirit of adventure. As a psychotherapist with over 20 years of experience, I've witnessed unimaginable horrors and people who have been hurt in countless ways. It is natural for such individuals to question whether they should be bitter, resentful, or even violent in response to their suffering. However, none of these reactions are helpful. Instead, they must struggle uphill despite their excess burden and embrace responsibility rather than guilt. The concept of the female crucifixion, exemplified by Michelangelo's Pieta, captures this idea beautifully. Mary cradles the broken and destroyed body of Christ in her lap, displaying the bravery of a mother who not only allows her child to face the dangers of the world, but facilitates that journey. It is a reminder that while the world is dangerous, remaining sheltered and dependent is even more hazardous to our soul. In today's competitive world, young men, in particular, face competition for status, limited resources, and the attention of women. Being nice is not enough to guarantee success in these competitions. Intelligence and industriousness are essential qualities, but improving them remains a challenge. However, being industrious can involve developing a strategy to solve problems and sticking to that strategy consistently. For instance, organizing one's study schedule and assignment due dates on a calendar can help avoid last-minute cramming and reduce stress during exam periods. The pursuit of truth and love as the highest ideals can guide us through the adversities of life. Cynicism, while an improvement over blind naivety, is only the beginning of the journey towards wisdom and understanding. Ideally, we should live our lives as a playful adventure, engaging in optimal challenges that stimulate and fulfill us. By organizing our lives and the world around us, we can embark on the adventure of a lifetime in a spirit of play. This balance between adventure and play is what we need and desire to thrive. As we navigate our lives, it is crucial to recognize the consequences of not speaking the truth. In my clinical practice, I have never seen anyone escape the consequences of deceit. When faced with a difficult decision, it is essential to rely on our judgment and not compromise ourselves with falsehoods. By contaminating our souls with deceit, we risk making grave mistakes that can lead to our undoing. It is vital to be afraid of the right things in life, and we should fear the consequences of contaminating our souls with deceit more than anything else. If we fill our minds with nonsense and falsehoods, We may eventually find ourselves in a situation where we cannot rely on our judgment when it matters the most. In such moments, when the stakes are high and the difference between life and death, or even worse, the suffering of others, hangs in the balance, our compromised judgment will lead to devastating mistakes. To find greatness and meaning in our own lives, we must set what is great against what is tragic. We must observe our lives closely, paying attention to when we experience moments of respite from our suffering. By being honest with ourselves and asking when we are not as miserable, we can begin to identify the curative elements in our lives that are connected to our purpose. For example, if we find that our depression is partly due to isolation, we can work on increasing the time spent with friends or seeking out new friendships. We can also work on honing our social skills and developing our sense of humor, as these can serve as powerful weapons against the tragedy of life. In conclusion, the key to navigating the hardships of life lies in embracing responsibility, pursuing truth and love, and engaging in a playful adventure towards excellence. By confronting our suffering head-on and making the conscious effort to better ourselves and the world around us, we can find meaning and purpose in our lives. We must remain vigilant against deceit and falsehoods, focusing on cultivating our judgment and integrity. By doing so, we can face life's challenges with courage and determination, transforming our suffering into a journey of personal growth and self-discovery. Ultimately, it is through the pursuit of truth, love, and excellence that we can overcome life's adversities and chart a course towards a more fulfilling, meaningful, and adventurous existence. By committing ourselves to this path, we can not only alleviate our suffering, but also forge a life that is rich, rewarding, and imbued with a sense of purpose. When you find yourself in a situation where you don't know what you're doing, where you are, or where you're going, you're in a precarious and dangerous position. This is because you're in unmapped territory, and who knows what lurks in such a place. If you're so disoriented and confused that you're unsure of your bearings, spiritual predators, far worse than snakes, await you. The likelihood of your descent from aimless, joyless anxiety into nihilism, corrosive bitterness, and ultimately genocidal fantasy is incredibly high. Nowadays, it seems that the most common desire people express is their wish to be happy. This simple desire, however, is not so straightforward. In fact, it's a preposterous slogan. When someone says they want to be happy, they're essentially asking for unending bliss, regardless of their actions. This is no small request, as it's akin to wishing for permanent residence in paradise. But upon closer examination, even this desire for happiness isn't wholly accurate. What people genuinely mean when they say they want to be happy is that they don't want to suffer needlessly. We are more concerned with avoiding an excess of negative emotion than with experiencing a surplus of positive pleasure. Yet even in terms of avoiding misery, this is not entirely accurate. What is truly evident is that we crave a compelling adventure, one that makes life suffering not only justifiable but worthwhile. As we look back on our lives, we want to be able to say, that was really difficult, but you know what? It was worth it. We long for a life filled with adventures so great that they justify the difficulties we encounter. So, the question arises, where can we find the great adventure of our lives? The answer lies in truth. By embracing truth, we embark on a journey whose outcome is shrouded in mystery. And this uncertainty forces us to let go of our preconceptions and dive headfirst into the unknown. When we live in truth, it is us, our authentic selves, who undertake the adventure. In contrast, when we rely on deception, we allow it to take control. And it becomes the force guiding our lives. It is important to recognize that deception is not just our own creation, but a spirit that possesses us, convincing us that it is part of our very being. Falling into the clutches of deception is a dangerous path to tread. The world is built upon the notion of sacrifice, as exemplified by the crucifix, the altar, and the church. The proper sacrifice is at the center of our communities. What constitutes the proper sacrifice? It is the voluntary willingness to bear the weight of our own cross. Our cross represents the various catastrophes we face in life: betrayal, death, pain, suffering, and injustice. To carry our cross, we must let go of our narrow ego and pick up the burden of life voluntarily. By doing so, we transform our struggles and transcend our suffering. It is crucial to ask ourselves if we have something we need to say, but are too afraid to express. If this is the case, then the problem lies with us. Though we may be scared to speak our truth, we must consider the consequences of remaining silent. We must recognize the perils that come with allowing others to control our speech. It is far better to endure the temporary discomfort of speaking our truth than to suffer the long-term consequences of allowing deception to guide our lives. We should strive to engage in a process that encourages not only our own growth, but that of others as well. By cooperating and fostering growth in one another, we create an environment in which everything flourishes. This ethos is not arbitrary, as it is based on the premise that without such cooperation, nothing can thrive. Furthermore, this principle is not relativistic. It is something we must adhere to regardless of our circumstances or chosen path. If we embrace this principle, we are doing well in whatever it is we undertake. In fact, this principle serves as a definition of what it means to do well. When we give up psychologically, we can cut our losses in reality. This is the essence of thought: to engage in abstract contemplation, to avoid acting out our pathologies in the real world. However, this still means that we have something to give up, something we must confront. We must actively engage with the metaphorical dragon that has burned us. By embodying voluntary confrontation, we can overcome the involuntary stress response and move forward into the world. It is important to recognize the difference between the mature I that takes into account the long-term consequences of our actions and the impulsive hedonistic I that seeks immediate gratification. When advocating for hedonism, we must be wary of falling under the sway of an impulsive, short-sighted demon. Constraints and order, rather than limiting our freedom, can actually enhance it. Take music as an example. It operates under a sophisticated set of rules, yet within these constraints lies an almost infinite array of possibilities. We should consider the idea that an optimal set of principles can yield the most desirable freedom. This freedom is not an escape from all constraints or an unrestrained indulgence of desires. Rather, it is a nuanced and balanced form of freedom. In conclusion, the pursuit of truth and the willingness to confront our challenges will lead us on the great adventure of our lives. By embracing a cooperative and growth-oriented mindset, we can create an environment where everything flourishes. Acknowledging the difference between the mature I and the hedonistic I will help us resist the temptations of short-term gratification. Ultimately, a balance between constraint and freedom will pave the way for our personal and collective growth, as well as a meaningful and fulfilling life.